The greatest adventure is what lies ahead. Today and tomorrow are yet to be said.
Hello everyone, this is No One of Consequence, back again with a new video. This is the 18th episode in a series which recounts my ongoing Dungeons & Dragons campaign, which is now in its 9th year. If you enjoy this content, please consider hitting the like button and also subscribing to the channel. Start off, spoiler alert, I will be revealing details about this adventure module in this video. So, you'll recall where we left off last time. The characters had suffered a pretty significant defeat. Aramis the fighter had been captured and had been turned over to the water elemental temple for sacrifice. The sergeant major was dead and they were unable to recover his body. And then the characters also found out while they were imprisoned that their horse handlers, Jasmine and Quan, had both been captured and were to be turned over to the Earth Elemental Temple for sacrifice by them. So where we left off last time, the characters, as I just mentioned, they had learned that Aramis was supposed to be sacrificed at the Water Elemental Temple, so they decided to go there first. Their reasoning being that if they could rescue him, then he would increase their combat strength. So, returning to the temple in the company of Elmo and Calmert the cleric, they went back to the water temple, and not knowing any other way to get there, they just went back the same way they approached the first time. So, Garrett moved cautiously, pulled back a small portion of the green curtain, which revealed the main worship area of the water temple. And not seeing any immediate foes, the characters entered. So they had discussed this ahead of time. The first thing they did was Thorol ran over. There were two sets of double doors, if you remember from last time. And so Thorol ran over and used some rope to tie off the handles of one set of double doors. And then, if you look in the shadows there on the far right, you can see Obrak doing the same thing, tying off the handles of that door. So the characters, after doing that, the group moved further into the room. And unfortunately, something happened that hadn't happened before. You may remember in the south center of the room was this huge idol of, it was about 8 feet tall, and it was carved, it appeared to be carved from a single block, but it depicted all sorts of marine life, coral and squids and fish and crabs and octopi. Just seaweed, everything. And the idol animated, and it was very large and slow, but it somehow was able to roll across the floor, and it started rumbling its way across the floor towards Obrak and Thorol. And the other thing that the characters learn is that in addition to moving, it could lash out with animated tendrils of like seaweed and tentacles and so forth, and it was big enough it could reach 2 spaces, and it already inflicted some damage on both Thorol and Obrak at this point. So Thorol took quite a bit of damage, and since he didn't wear armor, he could move pretty fast. So he ran around and decided to return to the green curtains on the south end of this area because he thought there might be someone back there controlling this thing. Meanwhile, the other characters started approaching to try to do combat with this thing. It kept rolling forward, and it actually tried to run over and probably crush Obrak and Calmart, but they both managed to jump out of the way in time. So the thing, because it's so big and heavy, it can only turn in very wide circles, and that's what it started to do. It rolled around and was clearly slowly positioning itself to come back for another pass. So this time, based on initiative rolls, it was able to move before other characters could act. And it literally ran over both Varys and Calmert. They were not able to get out of the way in time, and it rolled over them and basically crushed them to death as it passed over them. And then it began doing another circle around the edge of the room to make another pass at other characters. You had in this scene, there were some rounds of combat. The characters were attacking the thing, and Elmo and Obrak specifically were able to finally defeat this thing, just bashing on it with their weapons, and it finally shattered into a bunch of pieces and collapsed to the floor. So there were two characters down, but when the characters had gone back to town the day before and went to the bank, Thorol had taken out of storage. He had one last scroll from the previous Halloween that it could be used to resurrect a character. And so he decided to use that to bring Varys back and get him back with the party. But unfortunately, the characters had no way to do anything for Calmert, the priest from the Church of St. Cuthbert. So unfortunately, he was gone. So continuing south to that green curtain, there was a small alcove behind it with a set of double doors to the south and then single doors to both the west and the east. The characters decided to open the double doors first, and they saw several things. The most dangerous thing, their old nemesis, the Megatroll, was waiting behind the doors. Beyond that was a large pool of water, which they assumed was some kind of sacrificial pool for the elemental temple of water. And then beyond that, they could see Aramis, and he was bound up with chains on the far end of the room, apparently in preparation for sacrifice to the water temple. The troll immediately launched into combat, and he rained a series of blows. I just roll random, and in this case it happened to be Thorol. And because he was so strong and does so much damage, just in one single round of combat, he killed Thorol. So you can see the red X on Thorol's icon there beneath the left arm of the troll. So at this, Garrett dashed around the troll and ran into the room and started working to unlock the chains that were holding Aramis captive. While he was doing that, he could see that there was some kind of creature chained to the bottom of the pool, and it started sending him telepathic messages, and it appeared to be some female aquatic creature, but she was begging Garrett to jump into the water and free her as well, saying that she had been held captive here for many years. But Garrett ignored that and just kept working on freeing Aramis. And then meanwhile, back in the combat with the Megatroll, the other characters managed to defeat him, but as you can see on the health bars there, some of them took considerable damage as well. So now that they had Aramis free, the characters began exploring the doors to the west and east of this area. They first looked west, and it opened up into a very opulent looking lounge, for lack of a better word, obviously living quarters for the elemental water clerics. It was very, opulently decorated, but of course, all of the colors were in the theme of the ocean, and it also had a salt, watery smell to it. But they quickly looked around and grabbed some things that looked to be of value. They were mainly looking for their belongings, their weapons and armor and other belongings, which you'll recall had been taken from them. And they hoped they might be able to find some other stuff in here. So, about after a few moments, some of the characters had waited outside, including Nio, the priestess of St. Cuthbert. She was watching the opposite door on the east side, and that door suddenly flew open, and she was confronted by the two surviving water elemental priests, who, of course, they had all seen when they were here before and had fought against. So combat broke out. The characters won initiative. Garrett fired his bow at the main water elemental priest, but he missed. Elmo ran up to try to block for Nio because she was in the process of casting Hold Person, and he swung at the head priest as well, but he missed. The sub priest, who in the screenshot you can't see his head, but he's still in the room where they came from. He was engaged in casting, and the head water elemental priest was dual wielding. He had a mace in one hand and some kind of a rod in the other hand, which appeared to be a magic weapon. And so he made two attacks trying to hit Niobe and disrupt her spell. But with the mace attack, he missed. And with the attack with the rod, he actually dropped his weapon. And you can see that result there in the screenshot down at the very bottom. So this is still the same round because the characters won initiative. Niobe's spell went off first, and she was trying to cast Hold Person at both of those clerics. The head priest was somehow unaffected by the spell. The sub priest had to make a saving throw, but he succeeded, so her Hold Person spell did nothing. And then after that, the sub priest's spell went off. He too was casting Hold Person. But in his case, he was directing it only at Niobe, and unfortunately, she failed her saving throw, and now she was held in place. She could not do anything. So, moving on to the next round, Aramis ran up and grabbed Niobe and pulled her back because I had neglected to mention it before, but after they defeated the Mega Troll, the character set its body on fire to keep it from regenerating. And because it's so big, they were worried that the fire would grow larger and might actually consume Niobe, who was standing right next to it. So Aramis ran up, grabbed Niobe, pulled her back. Obrak, who had been in that room to the west, came running in and took a swing at the head priest, but he missed. The head priest used his round to pick up that magic rod that he had dropped the round before, and the sub priest was casting again this round, and he cast a light spell at Elmo, hoping to blind him by casting light right in his face. And Elmo failed a saving throw, and so now he was blinded by the light. Next round of combat, Aramis, who had just been freed and didn't have anything, he pried Niobe's mace and shield from her hands just so he would have something to try to help in the fight. Garrett ran up to help Elmo because now Elmo, who was blinded, was stumbling around and swinging blindly. But he was not able to do much this round, and meanwhile, the head priest, who now had recovered both of his weapons, attacked Obrak, and this time he scored some hits, and you can see he knocked some hit points off of Obrak's health bar. And the sub-priest was casting again, and he cast another light spell, and this time he cast it at Garrett. And once again, he succeeded. Garrett failed a saving throw, and now Garrett was blinded with a light spell to the face. Next round, Garrett stumbled back because Vera said he was coming up to help. And so Garrett stepped back. Varys ran up to try to fight the head priest. But the head priest, again, he's dual wielding. He attacked Varys and actually knocked Varys into negative hit points. Varys went down and was unconscious and bleeding out. Meanwhile, Elmo, who again is blinded, but he got lucky, and this time he actually managed to hit the sub-priest. He knew where he was from all the casting. He knew which direction, so Elmo landed a good solid hit on the sub-priest. And Aramis had run back into that room to the west where they just came from. He was looking for some... They had found some armor, extra armor in there, and he was looking to try to grab some armor to help protect himself. In this round, Garrett, he's blinded, but he knew just from the sounds of combat and other people saying that Varys had gone down. So even though he was blinded, Garrett ran back up and took a swing at the sub-priest, and he actually managed to score a critical hit. You can see the 20 there on the screenshot, and then the result of that. And it actually inflicted enough damage that it killed the sub-priest. And then Garrett and Obrak turned to the head priest and told him that he better just go ahead and surrender now, or he was going to die here in a moment as well. So quickly considering the situation, the head priest did surrender. He dropped his weapons, and he had just hit Varys, and Varys was on the ground and bleeding out, and he even said that he had healing spells, and he would save Varys' life if they promised to spare his life. And since Nio was paralyzed and couldn't do anything, they agreed. And the Water Temple priest actually kept his word. He healed Varys and kept him from dying. So the characters quickly recovered the head water priest's weapons, and they searched him for valuables, and he led them back to his personal quarters, where he did have some of their items. If you recall in the last video, the priest from the greater temple below had ordered him to send all of the characters' possessions to him, but as you might expect, he didn't send everything. He held back some things for himself, which he had in his private quarters, and he took the characters there, and they were able to somewhat re-equip themselves with their belongings. And my memory is, I think I just rolled random for what would still be there versus what he had sent down to the greater temple. So they got some other stuff back, and they were also talking at this time if they should immediately go back to the Earth Temple and try to rescue Jasmine and Quan. And while they were talking about this, the Water Temple priest spoke up and said that he hates the Earth Temple and especially its head priest because Earth is diametrically opposed to water. And he said that he would actually join the characters and help them defeat the Earth Temple if they promised to set him free after their attack on the Earth Temple was over. He also said he had long been plotting against the Earth Temple, and he had run into the same problem the characters did. Those Earth Elementals are very tough, and it had prevented him from being able to successfully attack the Earth Temple. And he told the characters that he had been studying on the problem, and he thinks he knows a way to at least neutralize the Earth Elementals and keep them out of the battle while they dealt with the other the Earth Temple minions. However, he said he was not going to reveal his plan until the last minute. It was kind of a guarantee against his safety. So the characters quickly talked it over, and they decided that they would accept his offer because Thorol was dead, and so that was their magic user out, and they had no way with them here to revive him. And so they figured that they could use the help of the elemental water priest. So the Water Temple priest led the characters to some other quarters where the under priests had lived, and he said they could rest and regain spells here. The characters had decided that they were too depleted to immediately attack the Earth Temple, and the Water Temple priest had expended spells as well, and so he said they could hide here and rest. They all could before attacking the Earth Temple. And so with that, they barricaded themselves in the room, and they set a guard over the Water Temple priest, and the spellcasters especially rested, and that the rest period allowed everyone to regain some hit points and regain their spells. And after that rest period had ended, they decided it was time to head to the Earth Temple because they were as ready as they were ever going to be. All right, well, that's all I have for now. Again, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. If you haven't yet, subscribe. Feel free to leave comments and share the video anywhere you think other people might like it. Thanks again for watching. I appreciate it. Bye for now.
The greatest adventure is what lies